Hi there, it's Kevin with Roguedeckbuilder.com here with kind of the fall video. I just did a State of Standard video. Go check it out. It's my feelings on Standard right now. I hope you comment on that because I'm really looking for a good discussion on Standard and what could really spice Standard up. Because unfortunately, I'm really disappointed because Journey of Nyx had so many just awesome brewer cards. And unfortunately, with the State of Standard, with the big three decks with Boros Burn, Mono Black Devotion, and Esper Control, it's really hard to actually brew creative decks right now. And if you want to see why, go check out that video. Anyway, I'm going to just do a few spoiler videos. I apologize in advance that this isn't a flashy video with, like, I'm not going to, it's very time consuming to actually bring up graphics and whatnot. When you can just find them all, I can just hurry and tape a video here from mythicspoiler.com. So big shout out to them for this website. It's very... it has all the pictures laid out. And anyway, so yep, courtesy of Matt of mythicspoiler.com. Anyway, so here is the Magic 2015 spoilers for May 22nd. We'll talk about a few in here. The first one is the souls have started to been spoiled, and they're pretty cool. And there's been some pretty cool speculation with Soul of Ravnica. So Soul of Ravnica, if you can see it here, is a flying. It's 6 mana for a 6/6, and people have tried to kind of compare them to the Titans. They're not Titan worthy in my opinion. I mean, yes, they are 6 mana, yes, they are 6/6, so that's similar to the Titans. And you do get advantage, you do get some value out of them, but you don't get immediate value like you do with Titans. Now, the cool thing about like Soul of Ravnica is you can draw a card for each color among permanents you control, but you look at the casting cost is double blue. That means you're going to have to play it in a heavy blue deck. And that means you're only going to be drawing usually either 1 to 2 cards with the draw card for each color among permanents you control. And then the 5-mana exile Soul of Ravnica from your graveyard, draw a card for each color permanent you control. Now that is the ability I like to talk about with these souls. That is awesome ability. So you're going to get value out of it as this is the difference between like this card and like Colonial Hydra. When Colonial Hydra was spoiled and everyone had tons of hype, it's like a $25 card. This is going to see so much standard play. I was one of the lone voices in the wilderness saying, no, this card will see 0 play because it just, quote-unquote, dies to Doomblade. And, people are sick of that whole saying dies to Doomblade. But what's happening with, like, cards like Colonial Hydra is you're putting in I can't think of the word, sorry, I've got a brain fart here. You're investing 5 mana into a card that you want to do something spectacular. And if it gets answered with something like a Detention Sphere or an Ultimate Prize or, a lot of things, then it just makes it a little underwhelming for what you could be doing with 5 mana, aka Stormbreath Dragon, and some other cards that actually get immediate value. So as long as there's other cards that, even like Plukranos, because it comes out a turn earlier and then has the ability to actually activate it immediately and does more amazing things than Colonial Hydra. Colonial Hydra, even though if you can get one swing with it, is an amazing thing, it's not going to see much play in a format that is very hostile to allowing things to actually attack. So anyway, what I like about these souls is you're going to get value, a 6/6 for 6 mana. That's not bad. They're going to have to answer that. And then you do get at least some value out of it from the exiling it. So at least you'll get your card back, or 2 cards back from exiling Soul of Ravnica. So if you're playing this long battle of deck versus deck, then this card will be anything but a dead card. If if it dies, it's not going to hinder you that much because you will be able to replace it. So definitely looking forward to seeing the red, the black, and the white. I guess while we're at it, we can just scroll down here and I can talk about the green one. And I really like the green one as well. The green one is a reach. Kind of wish it was trample. I'm thinking that, to me, they're like moving trample over to red, which is really weird, where red is more of a haste. I would be surprised if the red will actually be a haster at a 6/6, because that does seem very powerful. It's a 6 mana for 6/6 haste, because haste is one of those abilities that you immediately get value out of. So I'm thinking the red one will be trample. I think they're going to throw us a wrench, and this one was reach, which, I'm a little I'm more than disappointed actually about this is reach instead of trample. Anyway, though, this guy, he puts in 3/3 green beast tokens onto the battlefield, and in a devotion deck, in a Night the Shrine of Nyx deck, where you can actually generate pretty decent mana, that's not too shabby. You can actually flood the board with green creatures if you need to. Late game, add some more threats. And if you even get one activation with it, it feels a lot like the Soul of Ravnica, where it's kind of replaced itself and put out another threat that they have to deal with. Then it's exile, but it's really cool because this actually works in kind of a dredge deck. or a Reanimator deck where if you actually have it in your graveyard, you can exile it for a 3/3 beast. This card seems a lot like Call of the Herd, an old card from, oh, God knows, what, that was a long time ago. And it was called, I think Call of the Herd wasn't it reprinted in Standard one more time? And the first time Call of the Herd, it was a very expensive card. I remember playing it back when I was, younger. And Call of the Herd was like a premier deck because counterspell decks were very, very popular back then. Again, I can't remember the flashback counterspell card that everyone used, but Call of the Herd made your opponent answer it twice. And in a format, and I guess I'll just talk about this right now, is I was talking to a friend of mine at the store right now about how new players a lot of times they miss the boat on what makes a card good or bad. Like right now, would Pillar of Flame really be the card that it was in last Standard? Because Pillar of Flame was huge with all the Undying stuff, and Voice of Resurgence was a big deal card back then during the Innistrad and the Return to Ravnica blocks. And Pillar of Flame was just an amazing card, 2 damage, sorcery speed, could hit the player if it needed to. I mean, we got Magma Spray too, but Magma Spray only hits creatures at instant speed. And then again, Magma Spray is not the best. You don't see Magma Spray seeing a ton of play either, even though Voice of Resurgence does exist. But the reason why Pillar of Flame was huge is because it directly dealt with a really, really popular strategy, which was Undying in the format. And same thing with Call of the Herd. I think when Call of the Herd type cards were first printed, it was a format in Standard where you had to, it was all about controlling the board and not letting anything resolve. And if one thing did resolve, that puts you far behind. So Call of the Herd, they had to counter twice. And again, you're playing that card advantage war. I think Urza's Rage was a really big card back then too because it was uncounterable and it was damage that you could rely on. And Urza's Rage would be a joke of a card right now if it were, well, I don't know. In Standard, it'd be pretty decent with the ability to just spit out insane mana. Doesn't Urza's Rage allow you to do 10 damage if you kick it? But anyway, the 3 damage uncounterable would be kind of underwhelming right now in Standard. Of course, they might be citing it in versus Esper Control, but again, even versus Esper Control, it's not that big of a deal when you have better options. So when you're looking at Standard, you have to. There's sometimes cards are insane in Standard, and sometimes they're unplayable. Another example is Phyrexian Crusader, Phyrexian Crusader could be one of them, but Phyrexian Obliterator. Phyrexian Obliterator would be absolutely insane right now in Standard if it was Standard legal. But during the Scars of Mirrodin and Zed block and Scars of Mirrodin Innistrad block, it saw very, very little play. I think that like Zombie Pod was really the only deck that really tried to cheat it in. I mean, it was really hard to cast a triple black back then to begin with, or quadruple black back then, and there was no upside to quadruple black. Whereas now, quadruple black, Phyrexian Obliterator into a Gray Merchant, anyone? Yeah, that'd be pretty nutty. But anyway, so at the time, though, of Standard, what was going on was you had cards like Vapor Snag that just bounced it back to your hand. And at 4th turn, you really, really, really needed to stop Delver by 4th turn, or otherwise you're dead. So Phyrexian Obliterator did absolutely nothing in the format. And again, and then I remember even Olivia. Olivia saw very, very little play, if any, during the Innistrad Scars, and as soon as Scars and Mirrodin rotated, then Olivia is one of the pillar cards in Jund, and same thing with Thragtusk. So when weighing a card's potential, how good a card is going to be, it really depends on the Standard and exactly what Standard is trying to do. And Soul of Zendikar right now, I think, will impact Standard. I think it's pretty good as you can get value out of it. If they don't answer it, you can start putting out 3/3 green beast tokens. And if they do answer it, it does give you something you can actually do in the graveyard. So it can be pretty good against mono black, and speaking, it can be pretty good against Esper Control. I think it's just what Monsters actually wants if they turn into more mid-range, or kind of the green Devotion. Again, I don't know if you can justify playing this over Garruk, as Garruk is 6 mana that can actually affect the board pretty amazing for 6 mana. And 6 mana, again, is still something in the format, if you're not playing Esper Control, is pretty hard to get up to. So, but again, we're going to have to wait for Standard to see exactly what it's trying to do, to see if this is going to be a bomb card or a dud of a card. So, again, you cannot judge a card based upon that. I can reference a million of these cards, like I said, Thragtusk, Phyrexian Obliterator, Olivia, all these cards that are very, very powerful cards that during at least either all of their Standard life or partial of their Standard life saw very little play. Anyway, what I like to go back over to Soul of Ravnica is some speculation surrounding Soul of Ravnica. People are really thinking that this next set, Khans of Tarkir, is going to be a multicolored set with actually kind of like a 3-colored. If you actually look at a lot of these spoiled art from Cons of Tarkir, they're wearing white, black, and red. So we're thinking maybe the cons will all be white, black, red cards. So maybe we'll have a format that pairs 2 allied colors with an enemy color, and that'd be pretty sweet. So maybe the warlords will be different, and maybe the other whatever other archetypes they'll have in there will be different too. So there's some speculation that maybe this is why they chose the wording for Soul of Ravnica, because in a devotion based set with a lot of decks being monocolored, like again, we have Esper Control that's 3-colored, but permanents you're going to have on the battlefield are just going to be white, blue, so you'll only be able to draw 2 cards with Soul of Ravnica. And again, like the mono blue would only be able to draw 1, and other big decks are again mono black, that's only a 1-color deck. And if you're splashing in the green, that's usually no permanent on the battlefield with green. They're just using green for Abrupt Decays. So right now, Soul of Ravnica is such a bad card. You get very little value out of it. I mean, 1 card is not, for 5 mana, is very, very underwhelming for you're never going to be spending this kind of mana for 1 card unless you're incredibly desperate. But if, say, there were 3 colors, so let's say enemy colors paired with an ally, so if this would be like a UWR, if, say, the Warlords were UWR, then this card drawing 3 cards for 5 mana wouldn't seem too bad. So anyway, maybe that's a little speculation of to come. Of course, that cannot be 100% verified or even 1% verified. It's just speculation based upon the art. But in the past, Bruno was wearing blue, Sigardo was wearing green, and we've been able to kind of predict cards based upon the color of their art in the past. So maybe that is to come. I'm looking forward to Tarkir, though. I think the 3-color would be amazing, and it would really, really screw up Devotion, though. Anyway, so let's go on to like these. We have these Paragons. They're going to be limited bombs, but they're not going to be standard playable because their mana cost is too high. 4 mana for a Lord has traditionally not seen any play, and it says other green creatures for 2/2. Very vulnerable right now in a format dominated by like Magma Jets, Bile Blights, Drowned Sorrows. Another target green creature gains Trample. Not that great of an ability to actually spend a mana and tap it. And all of those, let's look at the other Paragons, are very similar to that. Yep, Vigilance, Whoop-de-doo. Death Touch is actually pretty sweet, but then again, now they put 2 on it. And is it Haste? Yep, Haste for 1 red. I think the Haste one or the Death Touch one's the most powerful one right now. They have no abilities in and of themselves. This guy doesn't have Haste. This guy doesn't have Death Touch. So I think that they really missed the ball on that. But again, they're uncommons. They're probably meant to be played in limited. Again, this Paragon of Gathering Mists is pretty sweet in a limited build if you're playing like the green-blue archetype and you have a lot of green fatties. To give them flying is awesome. So let's go down and talk about maybe all these spoilers. Maybe I'll do a spoiler segment with like Morton and Michael. I'll have to find a time to do that. But we'll just go over some of my favorite ones here. I'm going to talk about Rabble Master in a minute here because Rabble Master is my favorite card out of it, out of the cards that are spoiled right now. And the amulet, this Avarice amulet, is kind of a funny card. A equipped creature gets +2/+2 vigilance and draw a card, but if it dies, your opponent gets it. I mean, this just screams value if you can actually put it on a creature. But if your creature happens to die, then you have to give your Avarice amulet to the opponent. Not looking forward to giving that to Mono Black. That's exactly what Mono Black wants, is more card draw. So again, fun card, but I don't think it will see any play. Again, limited, it might be a pretty sweet card to put in limited. Siege Dragon, too expensive. It's got nice flavor. 5/5 for 7 mana. When it enters the battlefield, destroy all walls your opponent controls. Doesn't say destroy all defenders, so it's just walls again. We thought that Magic was going to get away from walls and just go to defenders, but now we're seeing walls again. So it deals 5, but if there aren't any walls, right? If your opponent controls no walls, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying defender player controls. It's pretty sweet, but again, 7 mana for 5/5. There's probably better things you can do with 7 mana. All right, Mercurial Pretender is a clone that you can actually bounce back to your hand, but at 5 mana and 4 to activate, 5 mana and 4 to activate, that's pretty steep cost to actually do that. We have better clone effects right now in Standard. Again, with this another Biovisionary target. I'm sure people will try to brew with Biovision. Yeah, Biovisionary. That's the one that you replicate 5 times to win the game. Resolute Archangel, again, we have this theme that, yeah, these are pretty cool, but for 7 mana, they probably should be doing a lot more. This one says when it enters the battlefield, your life total is lower than your starting life total. It becomes your starting life total. You might see Esper like this as a way to gain. I mean, this can be some insane life gain. If you're down to 4 damage, 4 life, this gains 16 life. And I guess in Commander, too, this puts you back up to your starting Commander total. So we'll see. This will probably be seen in Commander. I would assume. And there might be some like stuff that, like, you already saw there's some pay life stuff in this format. Maybe they'll have some tricky little pay life. Like, there's a red card here, let's find it, where you can pay life and add red mana to your mana pool. Maybe that's out of Commander or Conspiracy. I thought there was one that spoiled it out. It's pay 1 red life, add a mana to your mana pool. Yeah, here it is, Treasonous Ogre, but it's Conspiracy, so we're not going to see those two cards really seen play together in at least Standard. But, I mean, this type of effect you might actually pair from this Treasonous Ogre, where you can pay life to add mana to your mana pool, and then you could actually ramp out the Resolute Archangel, so you'd pay 15 life to actually just cast it for 2 mana, and then you just go back up your 15 life that you were at. So, little things like that. I'm sure Resolute. This is such a Timmy card. Resolute Archangel screams Timmy. There's, again, these pay 2 life effects are kind of cool with no other additional cost, because they have potential to be abused if you need to manipulate your life total. There are cards that do say, like, opponent loses life to how much equal to life you've lost this turn. I'm trying to think of those cards, but again, 5 mana for a 4/3, not that impressive. Cruel Sadist is kind of cool, as it is a human, which will be relevant for right now as long as Aether Necromancer is still in the format. But pay 1 life, you put a 1/1 counter on Cruel Sadist, so it feels like that robot guy that you could do this every turn to make it bigger. But remove X plus 1/1 counters from Cruel Sadist, it deals X damage to target creature. So it's kind of like this little assassin thing. Unfortunately, you need some ways to put more counters on it. I'm thinking like Ordeal of Erebus is kind of cool on this card, other than you have to tap it to attack to put on counters, but it'd be like this way that you can continue to keep putting on counters, because Ordeal of Erebus doesn't fall off until you have 3 plus 1/1 counters on it. So again, if you could find out some way to consistently put 1/1 counters on Cruel Sadist, it could be kind of interesting, because again, its abilities aren't the greatest, but at 1 mana, you're not investing a lot of mana into Cruel Sadist for a 1/1 human assassin that actually has a lot of upside to it. So again, it's going to be very fun and limited. I highly doubt it's going to see Standard play, as it's just there's just better things to do on your first turn. So we have this triplicate spirits, which is kind of cool, because you can put 3/1 and 1 white spirit creature tokens on the battlefield with Convoke. People have been comparing this to Spectral Processions, as if you have you have 2 creatures on board, this costs 4 for 1/1. So I mean, in a token deck, this could cost 2 mana easily. But the coolest thing is we know that Convoke is coming back. So a lot of people have already speculated that Court of Calling will be reprinted in this set. It desperately does need to reprint, as it's up to like $30 now in Modern. And we have this Seraph of the Masses Convoke that equals its power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control. That's all right. Again, it's going to be a nice little uncommon. And we have Master Polymorphist, which for 4 mana, you get a 2/2. You can sacrifice another creature, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal Emrakul and put it into... Oh, non-legendary. They even put this non-legendary clause in here so you can't get Emrakul. Oh, that's kind of jerkish. Anyway, but you can actually sacrifice... Like, I thought about decks of only using a 1 of these and a 1 of Emrakul, but you can still get, like, Blightsteel Colossus with this Master Polymorphist, but unfortunately that would mean that you're not using any. What made the Polymorph deck so good is that the Mass Polymorph of the Polymorph deck is you just play tokens, and there's no way for you to actually draw a creature except for Blightsteel Colossus. So anyway, a little fun card, but powerful? Nah, I don't see. Well, it won't see Standard play. It's again a very fun Timmy card. So a lot of Timmy cards being spoiled right now in the M15. If you're not familiar with the demographics, the Timmy, Johnny, Spike. Timmy is a casual player that likes to have the most potential fun. Johnny likes to find combos and creativity, and Spike likes to win at all costs. So when they create cards for Magic the Gathering, they try to fit a card in one of those demographics, to at least appease one of those demographics. So total Timmy card here. Alrighty, and yes, people say it's kind of Johnny, but Johnny will look at this and be like, oh, there's better ways I can do this. Let's see. So we have Indulgent Tormentor. Flying at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card unless target opponent sacrifices a creature, pays 3 life. Unfortunately, we've seen a card like this before. Not Bloodline Keeper. The Demon, Blood Gift Demon. Blood Gift Demon, 5 mana, 5/4, flying. During your upkeep, draw a card and lose a life. It saw 0 play in Standard. I think that it might see play in Standard right now in Mono Black Devotion if the card existed, but it was out of Innistrad. Indulgent Tormentor, I don't think will... Yes, you do get to draw a card each turn unless you sack a creature and pay 3 life. That's huge. Those are 2 huge costs. This is going to be a limited bomb. I think that it needed a higher power toughness to actually make it standard playable, but this could be a card that I'm very wrong. Again, this could be a replacement for Desecration Demon when it rotates out, but I'm thinking this is, if it was 4 mana, if it was bigger, I think those are the 2 things that this needed to actually be standard playable. Quickling is getting a lot of discussion on Reddit for potential legacy playable or modern playable. Sometimes returning a creature to the battle, returning another creature from your hand from the battlefield with flash is actually a good thing because you protect your card against Lightning Bolt, or Path to Exile. Oops, I just opened up a million quicklings here. Clicked on the wrong button. Anyway, so this has a huge upswing. This flash protects your creature. This will see play. I highly guarantee this will see play because it's almost like a proactive way to protect your guy. And like Master Waves, for example, you can flash this in, protect your Master Waves, and then recast the next turn, and you get a 2/2 for 2 mana. So you get like a bounce spell that, of course, can only affect you, but then you get an actual body out of it as well. So I think Quickling will see play. I don't think it's quite as powerful as everyone thinks it is because we already have the Deputy of Acquittals that doesn't see any play at all, and Deputy of Acquittals is kind of, you don't have to have a must. It's a may, I believe. You don't have to return a card. So you could abuse this too with Enter the Battlefield's effects by, oh, it is return another creature. Never mind. I thought that you could actually turn it itself, but nope. Anyway, Quickling will see play. Military Intelligence is a pretty cool card because, again, whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, you draw a card, so it's an early way for blue to draw cards. It'll be a very awesome limited card. And Chasm Skulker is kind of cool. Whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. The only problem is, the cost is 3 mana. That's going to be a little hard for the advantage of getting +1/+1 counters. But then when it does die, you do get 1/1 squids. Same thing with Coral Barrier. When it dies, you get a 1/1 squid. And Frostlink is going to be one of the most bomb limited cards. I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to be building around this in draft. As when it comes to the battlefield, you get a tap, target creature and opponent controls, and then it doesn't untap. So 2 turns you get to lock down a creature. This is awesome. This is such a tempo card, and I'm sure this is going to be highly picked in limited. Don't quite think it's going to be mixed standard. I already talked about the Paragons, and again, Broad Feaster Magnets can be really cool in limited. You could exile creature card from your graveyard and gain life. Awesome value for 5 mana for 3/3. And again, this Covenant of Blood is pretty cool. The Convoke will make this a lot less hard to play. Only thing is the sorcery speed, so you can't like end a turn with untapped creatures that you didn't use to block. So if this was instant speed, it'd be a highly more picked in limited. And we don't know what the cost of an Infernal Fist is. They've blacked it out. This is a cool card though. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, and then you can sacrifice to deal 2 damage to a creature player. I like that. So it's a pretty cool card. Again, though, people are saying enchant creature you control. That means you can't actually put it on an opponent and make an opponent punch itself. That would be sweet flavor. And then, anyway, so then we have Burning Anger, which, again, I think the enchantment cost is a little too steep at 5. This creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. It's got some pretty cool, with Inspired. This, you put this on Inspired creature, it gives it a way to tap, and like even Painseer, this isn't it's pretty cool on Painseer. Painseer then becomes something that can shock a creature player and then untap and actually get advantage out of it. But in a Painseer deck, I don't think you want to be taking 5 to the face if you actually do reveal this. Reclamation Sage is actually really cool. Destroy our artifact enchantment in a enchantment-based format. 3 mana versus the 4 mana. There is the 4 mana one, or is it 3 mana that destroys it? No, it's 4 mana for the destroying aura green card that we have right now. So this will see Reclamation Sage will see play. 2 mana to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Pretty good. I mean, traditionally that's been our 3 mana. Traditionally there's been 2 mana ones that have done this, but in green I think this is standard does need this right now. You can destroy a detention sphere, you can destroy a whip, you can destroy a Chain of the Rocks, and then still get a body out of it. So this card will see play. And then we have this guy, we don't even know what he's called, but 6 mana for 7/2 that recurs. Unfortunately, it comes in play tap at the beginning of your your upkeep, so you're not gonna be able to. Again, with Summoning Sicknesses, that's not that bad, but you can't block for forever. It will come into play tapped. So again, with Cure's Follower, you can untap it though. I mean, there's ways you can actually abuse this and have a 7/2 blocker. And again, this card's kind of cool with like Fall of the Hammer, Flesh Blood type things because it's 7/2. But again, the mana cost is quite steep. Broodkeeper, we have a card like this right now that doesn't see any play in Standard right now. We have the Ajani's Chosen, which is an easier color, which is white, so meaning you will be casting a lot more Aura spells in white than you will be in red. And Ajani's Chosen says enchantment instead of Aura. So this card, unfortunately, 4 for 2/3 isn't that great. Ajani's Chosen is a 3/3 for 4. So it's a little bit better on the power. And Johnny's Chosen puts in 2/2 cats. This puts in 2/2 red dragon creatures with flying. So these are more powerful with fire breathing. So that if anything puts it over the top, it will be that it's 2/2 flying, so evasion creatures with fire breathing. And those are a lot more powerful than just 2/2 cats. But anyway, he's very vulnerable. He does survive a Magma Jet, but still dies to Bioblight and dies to Lightning Strike. And then we have Ulcerate, which is cool. This will definitely see play as a one. It is 3 life, but target creature is -3/3 instant speed for 1. Very, very similar to Dismember, other than you cannot play it in non-black decks, of course, as it does cost the black to cast it, whereas Dismember you could actually cast for colorless mana and Phyrexian mana. And then we have Meditation Puddle, which is Convoke, you gain 8 life. It's cool and limited. It's a way to stabilize against aggressive decks, and you never know. It could see play every now and again as a way to kind of. I mean, 8 life is pretty huge in Standard right now. So anyway, drum roll, please. Let's go on to the card that I'm actually excited about. Again, we've had some pretty underwhelming cards, but there is a card that I'm very, very, very. That's a lot of varies. Excited to brew around, which is Goblin Rabblemaster. And tomorrow, I'm going to do a video right now using cards just from Standard to actually make Goblin Rabblemasters. But spoiler, it's going to use like Foundry Street Denizen and some other ways to I don't think there's actually a lot of ways to pump out Goblin tokens right now, but I mean, it's a sweet card. I don't know if it's quite Modern playable. I want it to be. I want it to make actually Goblins an archetype in Modern. Modern is so close to making Goblins actually a decent deck. We have the Bushwhacker, we have Foundry Street Denizen, Goblin Guide. We have a lot of cool Goblins right now in Modern. And again, in Standard, it says, I wish it just said whenever a red creature instead of a Goblin, but that might be a little overpowered. But anyway, this guy's a 3-mana Goblin Rabblemaster. Creature control, attack each turn if possible. Goblin creatures. So he's going to have to attack. He doesn't have to attack the first turn it comes into play. The cool thing is, immediately, for 3 mana, you get at the beginning of your combat. So you cast him in your main phase. Combat phase, you get a 1/1 red creature with haste. That's awesome. It gets immediate value if you get to your combat phase. And then whenever Goblin or Rabblemaster attacks, it gets +1/+0 for each Goblin, other attacking Goblin. So he's going to get bigger on your 4th turn. He can potentially attack in for a 4/2, which is really cool. And then you've been able to spit out 2 more red Goblin creature tokens. If you have other Goblins early, like Spike Jesters, Foundry Street Denizens, he's going to attack for even more. Again, I really like the card. I don't think the power level is insane. I think it's perfect. This is limited, will be a great card. Again, it dies to Magma Jet, it dies to Bioblight, but dies to Drown in Sorrow. But again, just the immediate value and just the flavor of this card really makes it my favorite card spoiled so far. So I definitely like your comments on Goblin Rabblemaster. So I know this video is gone for quite a while. Again, I'll brew an entire deck around Goblin Rabblemasters coming up shortly here. I'm hoping there's some more Goblins that actually make this. Usually there is a Lord in all the M sets, so Goblin Rablemasters will definitely be really, really cool to brew around in M15, and definitely my favorite card spoiled so far. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this review. This has been Kevin with Roguedeckbuilder.com. Thanks for watching.